We are the Global Academy, your training hub for entrepreneurship and business leadership. Headquartered in New Zealand, we have satellite offices in Melbourne, New York, Dubai, and Manila. The Global Academy New Zealand offers strategic master classes with our 4M proven framework that transforms mindset, develops mastery, strengthens management, and mentorship programs to sustain your organization competitive advantage. We are the Global Academy New Zealand, building leaders, leading builders. See you in class.
Welcome to the Academy, your training hub for entrepreneurship in this new digital economy. People from all walks of life, students, professionals, and online entrepreneurs, direct sellers, online dropshippers are now looking for innovative ways and means to maximize the power of this new digital economy and learn from home and earn from home as well. Remember that there are 3 critical success factors for you to be successful in this new digital economy. Number 1 is your entrepreneurial mindset. Number 2, your entrepreneurial mastery. And number 3 is your entrepreneurial management. 3 questions that you have to ask yourself. What are you passionate about? Number 2, what are the relative skills that you have in this new economy? And number 3, what do you think are the expectations of your partners or your clients or your customers? We at the Academy offer you valuable masterclass courses that will develop you and hone you to become a champion entrepreneur online. We want you to become a digital brand in this new economy. So click the link below and learn more about the 4 masterclass courses that we offer in entrepreneurship, in entrepreneurial management, digital entrepreneurship, and digital selling. So again, I'm your coach, Jonathan Petalver of the Academy, your training hub for entrepreneurship in this new digital economy. Welcome and see you in class. Okay, good morning everyone with us on our episode 6. 6 of 8 is coming from the USA, of course, our coach, Gaary Smith. How are you? Good morning, Gaary.
Good morning, Jonathan. Well, good evening to you. It's a bright sunny morning here in Connecticut. It's 50 degrees, which is 10 degrees Celsius, and I've got my morning coffee, so I'm ready to go.
All right, we're ready to go. So we're going to, maybe we can just give them like a brief preview of what we have discussed the last 5 sessions, because today I think you are going to discuss about the mundanes of entrepreneurship or entrepreneurial leadership, correct?
Correct. And
right.
I have always tried in every class, I try to recap, and people may say, well, why are you doing that? And it's because repetition is the mother of skill. You can go back, and I don't know about you, but when I listen to things online, many times I have to go back and listen 2 or 3 or 4 times in order to be able to get all of the richness of the content, because our minds drift, and so we miss key things. But so let's go back and quickly recap. In session 1, we talked about the entrepreneurial mindset. That being the set of your mind, and that determines things like how you see yourself, how you view your future and the possibility of creating a positive future, how you view others and how others view you. And so that becomes core to your ability to succeed, is developing and maintaining that right mindset. The second week in session 2, we talked about the power of choice, and we looked at the belief systems model, that beliefs drive us to take action, and those actions produce results, have an impact sometimes on us, sometimes on others in our world. And so it highlights the need for us to be progressively aware of our belief systems and look at those beliefs that are true and those beliefs that are not true, and be willing to change the untrue beliefs into beliefs that will serve us and help us move forward in life. In session 3, we talked about finding your purpose and how everyone knows what they do and how they do it, but very, very few people have taken the time to uncover why they do it, why they're here, what their end game is, what their overall goal in life is. And we gave our students some things to consider as far as how you go about discovering what your purpose is, and looking at things like your passions and your skills and how those intersect in a way that will allow us to be able to add value and at the same time be compensated for the things that we do. And then in session 4, we talked about gaps that need to be closed in our lives. And gaps fall into 2 different categories. One are skills gaps, skills that we either need to hone more keenly or skills that we need to acquire as part of the work that we're doing. But more importantly is the second part of skills, and that's closing the gap between who we are and who we need to become in order to be able to achieve. So we need to be on that personal development journey on an ongoing basis, always becoming more, always seeking to learn more. And then finally, last week, we talked about the basic needs, because as we're on this entrepreneurial journey, we have basic needs that have to be met. We have to make money. We have to have the ability, we have to develop the ability to achieve. We have to have relationships. We have to have spiritual connections. And so when we think about the first 5 weeks, that's sort of the core that we need to be working on in order to be able to move forward and to develop successful lives for ourselves. So that leaves us 3 weeks left in season 4. And we're going to talk today about the mundane aspects of entrepreneurship. Next week, we're going to be talking about keys to entrepreneurial productivity. And our final week, session 8, is going to be a surprise. I'm not going to let the cat out of the box on that one. Everybody will have to tune in to see what we're going to talk about there.
Correct. Yeah.
So let's jump in and talk about dealing with the mundane. What is mundane? It's stuff that's dull. It's not interesting. It's stuff that we sit back and say, gee, it's part of my career or it's part of my entrepreneurship. Do I really have to do this stuff? And I think we can break the mundane down into 2 different categories. One is as it relates to our careers, because it's interesting. There's a friend of mine who's a very successful entrepreneur. He owns a number of different businesses, and he wrote an article not long ago talking about young people graduating from college or university and coming to work for his companies and other companies that he's aware of, and that they come in and they have very, very high expectations of how fast their careers are going to progress. And he said it's not that they're not intelligent people. He said they're intelligent, they're hardworking, they're well educated, but they don't have the experience to progress as quickly as they need to, and they're not willing to spend the time to get the baseline skills that they need. And that becomes an issue because they become dissatisfied because they're not progressing as quickly as they want to. And so they wind up leaving and going to other companies. And it's almost like they just bounce from place to place to place because every company has expectations of its people. And I stopped and thought about that in relationship to my own career, because I graduated from college. I had a degree in engineering. And my first job, it was about 2 years before I actually got to do any hardcore engineering work on my own. The first position I had with the company, I started out on the manufacturing floor running machines. And then I went from there into a design department, but I wasn't doing any design work. I was doing the grunt work. The designers would put together assemblies. They would design full mechanisms and they would give them to me. And my job was to take the drawings, the assembly drawings that they gave me, and produce detailed drawings of each part that went into that assembly. So it was sort of grunt work. It really wasn't any engineering work. And then I moved into a department where I was called the scrap and rework coordinator. And my job was to look at scrap that was produced in the manufacturing operation to determine if it was legitimately scrap or if there was a way that we could perhaps go back and rework the parts to make them acceptable so we could save the company money by not having to throw stuff out. And then when I finally did move into the engineering department, I was under the tutelage of a staff engineer for a year, doing grunt work for him and sort of learning the ropes of the department before I ever got projects to work on that were legitimately my own, that I had them from soup to nuts and I was really getting into the core of doing engineering work. And a lot of people would look at that and say, well, gee, why do you have to go through all of that stuff? And it's because you're building the foundation that is going to be your career, and developing that understanding is so critical. One of the fellows in the engineering department that I worked with was an older gentleman. He was in his in his mid 60s, getting ready to retire. And one day he came to me and said, "Come, have lunch with me." And we had lunch together. And he said, I'm gonna make an offer to you. He said, you've got the book learning. You came out of college, you've got the engineering degree, you have all of the theory and everything, and you're a good guy, you're intelligent, you're hardworking. But he said, I came up through the ranks the other way. I started out as a tool maker's apprentice, became a tool maker, eventually became supervisor of the tool room, and eventually worked my way into engineering. So he said, you have the theoretical aspects of engineering. I have the practical aspects of engineering. He said, I'm going to retire in a couple of years. And he said, if you're willing to work with me and follow me around for the next couple of years, I will teach you the practical aspects of engineering. And I worked with him for the next 2 years, and literally, students, I got another college degree in engineering just by working with this man and seeing the practical side of things. And so I think it's important for us in our careers to realize that there may be mundane things that we have to do. There may be things that we have to do as we develop our careers that we don't like, that we're not particularly thrilled about. But if we look at it through the right eyes, we can realize that we're making a short-term investment that is going to pay long-term dividends. So that's the number one aspect of the mundane when it comes to our careers and building our careers. But then let's look at the entrepreneurship side of it from the standpoint of those of you who either are or want to become business owners. You want to own your own companies. What is it that is driving you to create your own company? Well, it's that you have a particular passion or a particular skill set that you're excited about that you can put to work. But is that the full picture of entrepreneurship? No, it's not. Because as an example, for me, my sweet spot, my passions are consulting with companies to help them become more productive and profitable, coaching individuals to help them be all that they can be. And I love writing and I love speaking, but that's a very small part of the overall business, because there's marketing that needs to be taken care of. There's finance that needs to be dealt with, all of those sorts of things. There's documentation that needs to be kept for taxes and things like that. All that stuff is stuff that I'm not particularly interested in, and initially I wasn't very good at, because it was stuff that I had to learn when I was first starting out. But I took the time to lay that foundation of basic understanding, and now I'm in a situation where I have other people who help me with some of that stuff. I still know a lot about it. I know enough about it to be able to ask the right questions, but there are other people who are now helping me with the marketing end of things and that sort of stuff. But as entrepreneurs, we have to realize that not everything is going to be stuff that we're passionate about. We have to develop the discipline to address the basic aspects of our business, whether it's marketing or sales or finance or human resources or whatever it may be. We need to know enough about what's going on in order to be able to ask the right questions. And maybe initially when we're starting out, because money is tight, we have to be willing to do that stuff on our own and learn the things that we need to learn and deal with the mundane. But the real key to it is how do we, getting back to our session 1 on mindset, how do we develop the right mindset toward these things? Because I think the first thing we have to do is to accept it as part of life. If you're going to be an entrepreneur and if you're going to be a successful entrepreneur, you need to understand all of these things, and you have to be willing to do the work, whether you're passionate about it or not. I often joke with my children and say, there are very, very, very few things in life that I'm good at. What I'm good at, I'm very good at. But there's a whole bunch of stuff in life that I'm not good at, that I really stink when it comes to doing it, because I don't have any interest in it, or because I haven't taken the time to develop the skill sets. But I have taken the time to know enough about it so that when I'm working with people who are in those areas, I know what questions to ask, and I know how to figure out where they're going, what they're doing, and if they really know what they're doing or not. So accepting it as part of life is really, really important. But let's make it fun. When we're dealing with those things that are mundane, things that are dull to us, things that really don't interest us, let's make it a game. Why can't we, set goals to be better at it, to beat our personal best? So when it comes to your weekly or your monthly finances, can you find creative ways to organize your finances so that it's a game that you go through and you play in order to be able to make it more fun, make it more bearable, and realize that the whole goal of doing all of the mundane stuff is so that you can get to do the stuff that's really fun. And when we begin to take that kind of an approach, it really sweetens the day for us, because it's not like we're procrastinating things because we sit down and say, oh gosh, it's the end of the month, so now I got to drag out my spreadsheet, or I have to pull up my financial program, and I have to go through and do all this stuff. It's like, hey, I really want to be coaching, I really want to be speaking, I want to work on my next book, so let's hurry up and get this thing organized properly and get it done so that I can say, hey, that's wonderful, it's done, now I can go on to something that's fun. So change your mindset about the mundane and realize that it's all a learning process. It all helps to build your skill set so that as your business grows, and as you get to a point where you have employees and you're working with other business partners and stuff like that, you have those foundational skills to be able to do the things in life that not only do you want to do, but that will be most impactful to those around you. Jonathan?
Correct. Yeah. So what we're saying still, Gary, is for those of us who are listening or watching right now, it still falls down to the mindset, right? Because no matter how mundane the task is of an entrepreneurial leader, because right now you see, the companies or the individuals I've been talking to right now, they're really trying to make both ends meet, right? With the previous effect of or impact of COVID, and then vis-a-vis their plans of moving forward in their business. So what do you think would be the best, as you mentioned, mindset in terms of really helping them, or like leaders being built up, especially in this pandemic times, Gary.
Well, with the pandemic, I think the thing that we're faced with is that we have to do it ourselves. If it's going
Yeah.
to get done, we have to do it. There's a mentor of mine, Dave Ramsey, who is a top financial coach, and he oversees a huge organization. And one of his employees was telling a story about one day they were trying to get a bunch of orders of Dave's books shipped out. And he said, it's like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And he said, this guy is down there. Said, I've never seen him before, but he's down there on the loading dock loading the truck. And he said, I turned to one of the guys and said, who is that? And he said, no, that's Ramsey. He said, he's the CEO of the company. What's he doing down here? And he said, he's helping load books. He's helping load trucks. And I think when we begin to develop that mindset that as entrepreneurs and as owners of businesses, we have to be willing to do whatever it takes. We have to have that mindset that says we will do whatever it takes. And if that means I have to load a truck, if it means I need to sweep the floor, if it means I need to clean the bathrooms and take the trash out, that's one of the jokes that I make with people about being a business owner, is that when I worked in corporate America, there were people in the companies that I worked for who took care of cleaning the bathrooms and taking out the trash and doing all that sort of stuff. And when I became the owner of my own business, I got to do that. But we can't look at ourselves as too good to do those things. We have to be willing to do it, not only because it's the right thing to do and it needs to be done, but also because it sets an example for ourselves and for others that we touch with,
Correct.
to make sure that they see the example that we set and that they will do the same things.
Correct. Correct. So you mean, it really boils down to the mindset, right? I mean, especially let's say people are really, doing their best to plan ahead. Like entrepreneurial leaders are doing their, especially now for sure, Gary, you have a lot of engagements or inquiries right now for the 2022. So how do you see that coming? At least before we invite Lloyd, to join us, how do you see 2022 coming for entrepreneurial leaders? What would be the best approach or mindset for them, Gary?
Well, it's interesting because
Yeah.
if you turn on the news here in the United States,
Mm,
there is so much negative about what's
mm,
going on, in the economy and new spending packages that the government is proposing that are trillions of dollars, and what's going to be the impact on the stock market and how is it going to
correct.
affect business. Quite honestly, Jonathan, my mindset toward that is, hey, if that's the game you want to play, go ahead and play it, but you're playing it by yourself. I'm not playing that game. I'm going to
Uh,
keep doing what I know that I need to do. And so many people were saying, "Well, how did your business do?" Throughout the course of the pandemic, and it's like, I don't know about you, but my business is exploding. It's doing well, and I think it has to do a lot with mindset of just saying, "Listen, just keep on keeping on. Turn the TV off. Don't listen to the negative
correct.
stuff." There was an old friend of mine named Roy Hatton. He was a professional speaker. He passed away a number of years ago,
Mhm.
but he painted a very, very good picture. He said, let's say that he said I go to the grocery store, and he said I'm going through and doing my shopping. I see an extension cord, and he said there isn't a man in the world who has enough extension cords. He said it's only $1, so I buy the extension cord. And he said I pay the grocer $1. The grocer pays an employee. The employee pays their electric bill, and the electric company hires me to do a seminar for them, and I get my dollar back. He said
Uh-huh.
that in sort of a micro way is how our economies work. He said, now you want to screw it up? He said, I go into the grocery store, and he said, I'm talking to the grocer and I say, hey, how's everything going? And he said, man, he said, think times are hard. Haven't you
Correct.
been watching the news on TV? He said, we said, we're not just in a recession, we're in a depression. So he said, I
Mhm.
see, as I'm doing my shopping, I see the extension cord and I don't buy it. So the
Uh-huh.
grocer doesn't get the dollar, his employee doesn't get the dollar, the electric company doesn't get the dollar, and they don't hire me to do anything for them. And he said the economy grinds to a halt, all because of the negative thinking of people. Don't listen to the negative voices in the world. Listen to the voice of God and do what he tells you to do.
Correct, correct. That's why, yeah, sometimes it takes a lot of planning. Sometimes what you see is working. But as you mentioned, yeah, God has better plans, right? I mean, as there are many plans in our hearts, right? But it's always the will of the Lord that prevails. And I think that's the message, right? As we end the whole entrepreneurial leadership series, the whole message is really to plan, yes, to equip, to add value to ourselves. But at the end of the day, if we will only realize, God's plan for us, then I think that's where the wisdom comes in. I mean,
That's
that's where the right mindset comes in. So joining us right now is Lloyd again, and yeah, let's ask him what are his challenges and maybe how can we help Lloyd? Lloyd,
Hi,
Good
Coach.
morning,
Hi,
Lloyd.
Gaary. Morning.
yeah, Lloyd, how are you?
I'm great. How about you, Coach and Sir Gary?
Yeah, yeah, we had a great discussion here, Lloyd, and yeah, maybe we can ask Gary once again. But before that, maybe you would like to share with us, with what you're doing with SMDC, with your real estate business, building up your teams. What are those challenges that you are having right now? And yes, we end this. Coach Gary will help you or will help us have the right mindset amidst all these challenges that you are experiencing, Lloyd.
Uh, Good question, Coach. No, actually, right now, the challenges that I have is, I think the transition and to be on the digital platform since
Mm,
me and my team is an old school seller. You know what I mean? In terms of selling, in terms of recruitment, we do the traditional one. So through adjustments to digital marketing, how can we thrive in terms of digital marketing, especially since there's a lot of sellers also to be in this platform. How can we to have our names there in terms of real estate?
Correct.
Yeah, I guess, Lloyd, and I'm not an expert in digital marketing, so Jonathan, you feel free to jump in here as well. But I guess the question I would ask you, Lloyd, is what are the things that make you and your team unique? How
Mm,
can you present a presence to the digital marketplace that clearly communicates that you are different in a way that will allow you to add greater value to those people you're serving? Because it's really, when it comes down to it, it's all about adding value. It's sort of the game of who adds the most value wins. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're always going to be completely compensated for the value, but you're adding value because it's the right thing to do. It's the best thing to do. So how can you get your names out there? What are things that you can do to contribute? I mean, as an example, how do people get to know the people on your team in this digital economy? Do you have a YouTube channel, or are you connecting with your audience in a way that people aren't just looking at you from the standpoint of buying something, but they're getting to know you? Because ultimately, people will do business with and refer business to people they know, they like, and they trust. So how are you getting people to know you? How are you building that trust? How are you getting them to like you so that you
mm.
become that go-to team?
Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Sir Gary.
So how do you, yeah, for me, it's a question of how do you create, what we call a shared economy right now of having, of letting your customers know that, there's urgency. I don't know, Coach Yari, if you agree with me, but this, at the end of the day, there's always urgency. I mean, you may be presenting the right benefit or you are the right solution, but if the other party will not see the urgency, I mean, yeah, because for me, it's about speed right now, especially Lloyd. Know that we are now in a digital economy. It's really about speed. So try to focus on talking to your team and let them know um, how would they speed up things. Because for sure, the people that you hire, the people that you have right now, have selling experiences. They're familiar with the landscape here in the Philippines of Philippine real estate, and how buyers buy and all, and where to find them. I think it's a matter of really um, having the right mindset that time is limited. Gary, Lloyd, time is limited, and you really have to speed up things, adding value to yourself, educating yourself, listening to things that will pump you up, rather than, as what Coach Gary mentioned, rather than things, focusing on being worried, right? Rather than being worried, look for things on how you are going to get excited. For me, because for me, every morning that I wake up, especially that uh you know I'll be, I will get up, even though sometimes you don't want to get up, but it's more of speeding up things, Lloyd. For me,
Yeah.
it's not about you doing the wrong thing, but it's you speeding up things of what you think will work. Because really, really, in the digital economy right now, what you think will work might not work, but what you think might not work might might be working. So you
Yeah.
really have to yeah, speed up things.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I would also say, along with speeding things up, have a flexibility in your mindset,
Yeah.
so that if you try something and it doesn't work, you can't say, well, okay, that doesn't work, I don't know what to do. Try something else, try something else, try something else. It's sort of like tweaking the dials until you find that sweet spot that
Yeah.
really works.
Correct. I totally agree. That's why uh for me it's more of really having options, right?
Right.
Really having options. And if there's one thing that COVID has taught us, Lloyd, it's more really of continuously digging, farming, planting, putting seeds. Because at the end of the day, business is all about pipeline,
Yeah.
having the right pipeline, quality leads, right, Lloyd?
Yeah.
And adding value to yourself. Adding
Yeah.
value to yourself.
Yeah, and and take the time too to embrace your team and brainstorm with them so that you
Yes.
have things built up for ideas that you can try. You never want to get down to a point where you're relying on one particular solution to carry you through. You want to have multiple approaches, and so balance on the experience of your team. To give you some feedback, and then once you have some ideas to work on, it really becomes a matter of staying focused on your highest priorities. That's one of the things we're going to talk about next week. We're going to talk
Mhm.
about entrepreneurial productivity and what are the real keys to being productive. And one of the first keys is knowing what it is that you have to do and staying focused on doing that. Don't let yourself get distracted. And in a digital economy, especially when we're working from home, and we're not together in the office, it's very, very easy to get distracted by things that are going on around you, and you just can't let that happen.
Correct. Correct.
Thank you very much for the tips. I think for me, I think that the discipline is the most important thing
Yes.
to the
Yes.
things that you both said, especially with this digital economy. It's very
And to,
important.
yeah, correct. And to add to that, Lloyd, as you build your team, I think daily meetups with them. I think it's good, right? That you maximize this kind of platform, what you always meet them like 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m. Because I think that's the best thing to do. I believe they're not used to that, Gary, right? But the best way to do it now is, or to approach the digital economy now, and especially these challenges, is to really wake up, with the right mindset, with the, with feeling good, feeling good. For me, three things, Gary. I mean, as we end this, the way I battle the mundanes and the challenges. Number one, I have to have the right mindset. How do I do that? Just to share with you, Lloyd, how do I do that? Um, uh, I listen to like Joel Austin, or to Rick Warren, or locally like Ed Lapis. These are men of God, and they will always, you know um, bank on God's promises. Because if there's one thing that we have to listen to is, people talking about the Word of God, wisdom and promises, or you can read yourself. That's one. I'll spend 30 minutes, and then after that 30 minutes I will do my fast walk. I just tune into YouTube, and there's a fast walk. So just type fast walk, and there's a 30-minute, 2 mile. You can already do 2 miles or 3 kilometers, right?
Hmm.
Then after that, mindset, and then physical, and then after that I'll go back to my calendar and strategize, because at this point in time, for me, I'm already working on my quarter 1 2022. That keeps me, like inspired and motivated to move forward. So
Yeah.
these are the three things, Lloyd, I think. Because
Yeah,
for
and I
me,
would I would add one more thing in there, if I
yes,
can, Jonathan, and that is to realize that your mind is programmed by the sound of your voice heard in your own ears. Give
yes,
yourself positive self-talk. When I roll
yes,
out of bed in the morning, the first thing I say out loud is, "Good morning, Lord. What are
amen,
we going to do today?"
yes,
And when you create that, when you program yourself in your ears, so that you create instantly, when you get up in the morning, you create that attitude of expectancy that, hey, this is going to be a
yes,
great day. This is going to be a wonderful day because God is with me. We're working together as a team. We're going to have an amazing day. It's amazing how it will turn out to be an amazing day. Maybe not easy. You're going to face challenges. You're going to face difficulties,
yeah,
but you're infinitely more prepared to deal with them.
correct, correct. Yeah,
Thank you,
Lloyd,
Ken.
do that, and you will be amazed, because I think it's really as we shift to the digital economy, but at least, at the end of the day, it's having the right mindset. It's really having the right
Amen.
mindset instead of focusing on being worried. As you equip yourself, the right opportunity, the right people, the right buyers, the right agents, the right recruits will come, right?
Yeah.
Just keep on keeping on. For me, it's all about moving. Just
Right.
keep on moving. All right, Lloyd.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Thank you so much again for joining us. We'll see you soon. All right. So, for me, Gaary, it's really more of having the right perspective, right? It's as I mentioned, as I told you, I'm leaving in the next 10 days. There are so many things that I have to do. A lot of things which I feel like I cannot put it all in the next 10 days. But as I instead of just worrying, I have a list. My calendar here right now, Gaary. Look, for October is already full.
There you go.
I just write it and just write it and write it and write it until such time I see a solution. Because sometimes you just have to write all the concerns that you have, and then when you look at it, then you can like see look at the solutions. Now, interestingly, before we end, Gaary, we have here Wilbert there. Wow, he commented wow, and then he said, I agree. It's all about doing the right thing and giving value. All right.
He's got it.
Yep. So anything else to add, Gaary? I'm excited about next week, which is about entrepreneurial productivity, right? Because week after next, I'm going to be streaming live in Los Angeles. So I'll be earlier than your time.
Perfect. I'll
So
look forward
that's
to
6 to
that.
7. That's 6 to 7 a.m. Our last episode for the series, I'll be in LA. So that's 6 to 7 a.m. my time and 9 to 10 a.m. your time.
Very
And I hope
good.
to see you this month. I hope to see you end of the month. Because I'll be in New York October 24 to 27.
Okay, we'll see what we can do to get together.
Sure. If not, my family will be back end of November until the first week of January.
Okay, perfect. I'm
Yep.
looking forward to meeting you.
Yep. Same here, guys. So anything else to add?
No, just as we recap today, just think about all the things that we've gone through in these sessions. If you haven't watched the session, or if there's something you've missed, go back and watch it again, because all of this stuff is foundational to entrepreneurial leadership and ultimately entrepreneurial success. So Coach Jonathan and I are trying to give you the best of the best that we know from
Yes.
our years of experience. So go forward and prosper, and God bless you this week.
All right. Thank you so much again to all our classmates, audiences. Thank you so much for watching. Again, Raquel Pangilinan from Hong Kong. Thank you. Happy to see you again, Coach. Champion ang Pinoy watching from Hong Kong. Of course, we have audience this early in our program from Netherlands. Coach Ara is watching us from Europe. Of course, we have people from New Zealand, Australia, and the Middle East as well. So again, thank you, champions. Thank you for watching Champion Ka Season 4, Episode 6 with Coach Gaary Smith. This is Coach Jonathan, and together with me is Coach Gaary Smith. Champion Ka, we are building leaders
and leading builders. Have a great week,
See you.
everyone.
Have a great week, everyone.
We are the Global Academy, your training hub for entrepreneurship and business leadership. Headquartered in New Zealand, We have satellite offices in Melbourne, New York, Dubai, and Manila. The Global Academy New Zealand offers strategic master classes with our 4M proven framework that transforms mindset, develops mastery, strengthens management, and mentorship programs to sustain your organization competitive advantage. We are the Global Academy New Zealand, building leaders, leading builders. See you in class.